Now turn up.
What up, is Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads, where we do daily Dynasty videos. We are doing bold takes for the wide receivers in 2021. All right, so we're going to do 5 bold takes. The first one right off the bat, and I know this is bold, but CeeDee Lamb will finish as a top 5 wide receiver in 2021. He was the biggest talent of wide receiver coming out of that 2020 class, even ahead of Justin Jefferson, ahead of Jerry Jeudy. But I think CeeDee Lamb is going to make a huge jump. So let's look at what he did last year, and let's look at what he did with Dak Prescott primarily, since we're assuming Dak Prescott will come back and hopefully be healthy. So he was 12th. CeeDee Lamb was 12th from weeks 1 to 5 with, of course, Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott went away, and of course, CeeDee Lamb's production went down. He ended up finishing 21st in 2020. So it is a decent wide receiver too, but I am seeing a big jump. I think CeeDee Lamb is arguably the most talented wide receiver in that trio there. I think Gallup's like here, and then it's like CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper right up here. Amari Cooper, if you remember right, he was a really, really talented wide receiver coming out of Alabama, and so I think those two could be neck and neck. We look at what Amari Cooper did. He actually finished 13th in weeks 1 through 5 with Dak Prescott, so CeeDee Lamb actually finished a little bit better. We look at CeeDee Lamb's production, 935 yards and 5 touchdowns. I can't see why the touchdowns won't go up in 2021. I would be shocked if he doesn't have at least 8, 9 touchdowns. This is an easy guy that could have double digits. I am seeing not an easy, but a path where he could have 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns. I think that is a prediction that could happen. And being a top 5 wide receiver, I know is a super out there type of declaration, but I think that the CeeDee Lamb could easily do that. I know that he plays out of the slot primarily, which is maybe a downfall a little bit, but that offense is so weaponized. It is ready to go. I think that you're going to have an upgrade. I think Zeke's going to have more of the year he had at the beginning of the year of last year. I think Amari Cooper's going to have a better year than people expect. And I think Gallup will be okay on the outside, but I think really you're going to have those 3 players, Lamb, Cooper, and Zeke, really focus a lot of that offense in there. And then you're going to have some of these plays where you're going to have Gallup maybe have one or a couple of these games, 1 out of every 5 games, he's going to have 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. You're like, oh, dang it, maybe I should have started Gallup. But then he'll go back into his 3 catches for 50 yards. So that is what I believe with CeeDee Lamb. I feel like he's going to be a top 5 wide receiver. But if you're also new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, I don't know, why not? It's just free. All you get is a free free chance at a Jerry Jeudy college jersey. I don't know why you wouldn't subscribe. At least you have a chance of winning. So we're going to spin that wheel when we hit 1,000. We're in the high 800s now. So awesome. Number 2, and this is 2 wide receivers that a lot of people either really up or really down, but I think Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton are going to finish as top 24 wide receivers. And you might be going, well, how is that bold? Well, Jerry Jeudy finished as 44th last year in his rookie campaign. So 44th to 24, that's a big jump. That's over 20 spots that he's going to have to jump. But 856 yards, 3 touchdowns, and also they don't have a good quarterback there. Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, we don't know who it is. Flip a coin, might be both of them at times in the year. So to have both of them, I think you're going to see this kind of Carolina system, Carolina production, where you're going to have 2 wide receivers, but they're going to be at the end half of the wide receiver 2s. Maybe 20 and 22 or whatever it's going to be. But I think they're going to both sneak into that top 24. I don't think they're going to sneak into the top 15, but I think it's that 18 to 24 range. You're going to have both these wide receivers right there. Jerry Jeudy, 856 and 3 last year. I would hope that he would have more than 3 touchdowns. I think he can produce at a mid 7, 8, 9 touchdowns. Again, touchdowns are a big key when it comes to fantasy production. And if you get a lot of targets, which Jerry Jeudy had, he had over 100 targets last year. The big problem is he just didn't get catches. And those catches they produced somewhat of yards, 856 compared to Lamb's 935, but they also didn't produce touchdowns. I did a video on Jerry Jeudy, of course. Jerry Jeudy. I did a video on Jerry Jeudy on why I think he's going to have a huge step forward. Now we go to Courtland Sutton. He's recovering from ACL injury and a torn up knee, which means usually probably medial meniscus and some other damage along with the knee. But he was 17th in 2019. I put that wrong now. He was 17th in 2020 or 2019, and then he had 1,112 yards and 6 touchdowns. I could see him not having, maybe with the extra game he gets 1,000 yards, but I could again see him with that 8-9 touchdowns. I think primarily a lot of the touchdowns are going to come from those two players, and maybe a little bit of Noah Fant sprinkled in. I think he's going to be a really good weapon. I see them scoring more than 25 passing touchdowns. I think it's going to be ugly. I think they're going to have some shootouts. I don't think Javonte Williams or Melvin Gordon are going to produce a ton in the passing game, but I think they're going to be effective runners on the ground where it's going to be enough to move that offense. And they're going to be in a lot of these games where I think it's going to be more high scoring than people expect. They got to keep up with, I almost said Oakland. They got to keep up with Las Vegas. They got to keep up with Kansas City, who we know scores. You got to keep up with some of those teams. And then the Chargers as well, like, they're going to score a bunch of points. So you got to keep up with some of these AFC teams, especially divisional opponents. They're going to have to score. And I think that's going to be some of these big things. And maybe some of it's garbage time. Maybe they're down by 21 points. But you know what garbage time counts for? Still the same amount of points, unless you have some weird scoring system. So again, if you haven't yet, we do have $1 now, $1 tier, you can say, just for supporting the channel. You get one little ball into the draft lottery, we'll call it, the draft lottery of getting a free Vikings football, signed football, and we'll be giving away. I believe I'm going to be doing a jersey next on the giveaway there. So every, of course, dollar that you give to Patreon is a ball that we get to put right into the, I call it draft lottery, basically. And yeah, we'll be doing that here pretty soon here. So number 3 for big, huge, I guess, bold takes is Juju Smith-Schuster not being a top 25 receiver. And I'm pretty close to say it. I'll just say it. Top 30 wide receiver. It's real. I think he's gonna be really close to 30, kind of late 2030s. So I'm just gonna say not top 30, and you might go, well, he had a bad year last year. He did. He only had 831 yards, but he had 9 touchdowns, giving him a 23rd finish in fantasy football. I think Deontay Johnson is going to continue to produce at a good level. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 in targets there. And I think Claypool is going to have another step forward as well. I think those two are going to be the wide receiver 1 and 2 there. I see Juju Smith-Schuster just being this. I don't think they wanted him to go to Baltimore. I really don't think. I think that's why they kind of held on to him. But if you look at Juju Smith-Schuster, he had 128 targets. I don't see that being reproduced. I see him more into that 100, 110. And if he's in that 100, 110 range, you're talking about a wide receiver that may have a year like Jerry Jeudy did last year. 856 and 3, which was 44th. Maybe he has 856 and 6. And so he's up into that like mid 30s or even high 30s if he produces maybe a couple more yards. But 831 and 9 touchdowns is what saved his butt. It's what saved his butt, and I don't think it's going to save it this year. He had 97 catches on those 128 targets. I see that going down as well. I see him as a 5-6 catch guy that's going to move the change at certain times, but I don't see him being a top 30 wide receiver. I know that might be bold, but that's what you got to do. You have to kind of just lay it on the line, put some chips on 23, and just spin the roulette board. All right, number 4, A.J. Brown. And what am I going to say about A.J. Brown to make it bold? I say he finishes as the number 1 fantasy wide receiver in 2021. That is pretty bold considering what kind of wide receivers that he's going to be competing up against. He's going to be competing against Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, all of which I think do have really good possession or chances of getting number 1 overall in fantasy finish. But I'm going to go with A.J. Brown. If you look at his 2020 year, this is 12 games that he started. 106 targets, 70 touchdowns, 1,075 yards, and 11 touchdowns. He finished in the 12 games, not 11 games, in 12 games as fantasy finish 9. He did that in his rookie year as well. This is one of those things I can see him. Julio, you could say it's a crutch argument. You could say he's going to take coverage away, it's going to help him. You could say, oh, he's going to take targets away, it's going to hurt him. I honestly think that Julio he's going to be, I think if anything, he's going to help the offense move. I don't think it's going to affect A.J. Brown a ton, honestly. It may, but I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to A.J. Brown's going to continue to have this production that he's going to be on, and it's going to keep going. But let's just say he played the 16 games. You add 4 games to that. You're talking about a 1,500 yard guy and 15 touchdowns. If you're talking about that, you're getting into the realm of conversation of a number 1 overall fantasy finish. Now, that's a lot relying on touchdowns, but we saw what Devontae Adams did last year, which was amazing. And we could even see Stephon Diggs maybe hit a huge jump in touchdowns. And Tyreek Hill is always a threat to be number one or close to number one. But I'm just going to go with maybe the dark horse or the lesser of a chance, but I think he's going to hit. And I'm going to go with A.J. Brown being that kind of surprise. Oh my goodness, he's number one overall finish. And that's what I'm going with. That's my number 4 bold take. Number 5. Mike Evans, we got 2 pieces to this. Is one, he's not going to be a top 15 wide receiver. That might not be, maybe that's bold, maybe that's not. I don't know. I think it's bold because if you look at his career, which we're going to go through, it's kind of bold. And I'm going to say he is not going to hit his 1,000 yards. It's going to end. His streak's going to end at 7 seasons. Yes, he's had 1,000 yards in 7 straight seasons. These are his fantasy finishes: 10, 27, 1, 20, 6, 8, 8. So, I mean, if you look at his chances, 5 out of 7 that he is going to be a top 15 wide receiver, or top 10 at least. And then 2 chances, which some of it was injury and stuff, but that he was 27 and 20. I honestly think that his 1,000-yard streak is going to end, and I think that his fantasy finish of being on wide receiver 1 is going to end. Let's look at some of the targets. 109 targets. That was the least amount of targets he's had in a season, and he's had shortened seasons that have had more targets. He played 12 games one year, and he has still had more targets than his last year. So I think that's going to be a big thing. 109 targets, and you're still finishing as a wide receiver 1. That's kind of like a red flag of like, warning. Like, that's a sign to the depreciating value is coming soon. Also, 13 touchdowns last year, which was the most in his career. So least amount of targets, most touchdowns. Those things are big warning flags that they recession to the norm. I mean, Mike Evans is known to be a red zone threat, but I think we are looking at a guy that is not going to get 13 touchdowns. You're going to cut that in half, and you're going to maybe get like 1,000 yards. That's going to be bold because there's 17 games. Crap, I forgot about 17 games. That makes it even more bold. Okay, I'm going to say he has 990 yards. 990 yards and like 6 touchdowns. And where does that put him? Not as a top 15 wide receiver. So that's what I'm going to say. That he doesn't hit 1,000 yards. Either whether it's due to injury or due to performance, I think he's not going to hit 1,000 yards. I think Antonio Brown and I think Chris Godwin is going to have a better jump. He had a down hit last year. So if you're buying anybody, it's going to be Chris Godwin, in my opinion. I think that's a really good person to buy on the more on the down low. So that is my 5 bold takes for the wide receivers of 2021. All right. So this is, again, Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.
Now turn up.